Window World, the official windows of the Kansas City Chiefs, presents Kevin Keatsman Has Issues online at windowskansascity.com.
All right, the long holiday weekend is over. It's time to get back to work, get back into the routine. And right now in America, that means getting back to politics and the politics of politics, which is a presidential election that is looming in just a little over a year and a half from now. And so many candidates on the right now declaring that they're going to be running. And we've got to draw a line here somewhere. There's going to be so many people in this race that we've really got to draw a line and say, who are we going to take seriously and who are we going to cover in the media? And how many Asa Hutchinsons will just be allowed to be in it? So at some point they can try to write a book or get a job as a pundit on TV and make a whole bunch of money. It's all become completely and utterly silly with the news that Chris Christie has now formed a super PAC, and it looks like the former New Jersey governor at some point is going to jump into this race for no other reason other than to hopefully, for him, get a platform in front of some cameras to blast Donald Trump, which is his favorite thing to do. Hey, listen, this is democracy. Anybody can run. I get it. I mean, can I run? Can you run? Would we get media coverage if we announced we're running and we have a super PAC? Just because you have a super PAC doesn't mean you have enough money to buy advertising in all these states, to go to Iowa and flood the marketplace, or to visit all the different counties in Iowa or campaign. I just think it's absurd. I think we've gotten to a place in America politically where, Joe Biden's president, there's not a bunch of people doing this on the left. It's all the people on the right. Last time around, it was all the people on the left because Trump was the sitting president. So we know how this works. But the sheer number of knuckleheads that just get into this race for what, financial gain, for celebrity status, for whatever you may call it, it serves no purpose. And at this particular time, this is so much different than just an open Republican seat. We have a former president running, and we have America's most familiar and popular governor in Ron DeSantis. Everyone else is just in the wake. Now, we may say things like, it's great to have Tim Scott in case we have a debate. There's a tremendous senator, a black senator on the right, Vivek Ramaswamy, who is a big idea guy, probably the smartest guy in the room. Is that helpful to have these people in a campaign and getting some news coverage and talking about things that maybe wouldn't be in the news cycle? I think it is. I think that's helpful. But when we're tagging along Asa Hutchinson and probably Chris Christie or even Mike Pence, which I just don't take very seriously, Nikki Haley, so many of these names and these people, they're in categories of has-beens. I think Chris Christie's there. I think, God bless Mike Pence. I know he's a fine man. Nikki Haley, they're kind of all has-beens at this point. You're either looking at Trump or you want the next big thing, and that's clearly DeSantis. This one's pretty clear, I think, to everybody on the right that will be voting. Although there are a lot of trends in this thing. I saw a report earlier on Tuesday that chronicled the last times that the Republican seats were open, not filled by a sitting president where there was no challenge. When they were open, every single time in Iowa, if you do the polling right now in Iowa, which is where this thing begins, right? If you look at the early polling, every single time that you look at the early polling, whoever's leading in the early polling does not win the Iowa caucuses. That's just how it works in Iowa. Last time around, Ted Cruz had 5% of the vote in Iowa at this point, but he went on to win the Iowa caucus a year later, or less than a year later, months later. And so that can happen. And I think the one thing that was noted quite apparently was that Ron DeSantis is going to be spending a great deal of time in Iowa. He's going to be putting a lot of his eggs in that basket, that Iowa is going to be a very big state for him, as is South Carolina, which is early, where DeSantis actually is doing best in South Carolina of any of the other early primary states. He's still second to Trump, but it's very close in South Carolina. The other states, not so close yet, but he apparently is going to put in the hard work, and he's going to just spend time after time after time after time after time in Iowa. I was watching one of those mostly useless morning show things where they go to a diner and ask voters, hey, how are you going to vote? How are you going to do this? And they love doing this in Florida. I think it gives them all a reason to, be on vacation over the weekend and have their first show back or something in Florida. And they're talking to voters in a diner. And I saw two different people say something that I didn't expect in Florida. One person, they said, who are you going to vote for in the primary? And the person said Trump. And the follow-up question was, why? And they said, because I want to keep DeSantis as my governor. And then another woman they asked, they said, who are you going to vote for? And she says, I don't know, but I don't want to lose DeSantis. I wonder what polling looks like or how actual voting will go in the state of Florida from a lot of conservatives who want to keep Ron DeSantis as their governor and don't want to give him up for America. Normally, it's a source of pride that you have a candidate or a popular candidate in your own state and you're kind of rooting for them like you would a sports team. Hey, great, the person from our state could go on and be president. How cool would that be? There's a lot of people in Florida that are simply looking at this going, we don't want to lose Ron DeSantis as our governor here. We'd rather him stay and Trump go ahead and win the nomination or whatever. And I'd never really thought of it that way. But it's different this time. It's clearly a different type of deal. And I don't know. I don't know why Chris Christie building a super PAC and getting in the race is under my skin so much. It just shouldn't be bothering me. But I think the guy's a complete and utter sellout. He's so lame on ABC News when he's on one of those panels and he's the only conservative up there with, a 5-person panel and he's the only Republican. And he's just so weak on all the policies. He's clearly switched. I mean, for New Jersey, I guess he was pretty much conservative for New Jersey. They don't hire a lot of Republican governors in New Jersey. But as he's gone off into the media, it's pretty clear that he likes living in New York. He likes being in that media bubble. He hangs around with all these people, and he sounds more and more like the leftists on all these panels every single day. And his favorite thing is just to bash Donald Trump. And so he's going to get in the race. And I guess what? He's going to get media coverage. Even if it's just in the Northeast or New York, it makes him more famous. He's never taken any of this stuff seriously. He's never gone to the trouble of, losing weight. Like, he's not in it to win it. He's in it to annoy somebody. I made a comment about a year ago about Ron DeSantis. And many of you responded to this or emailed and said, hey, well, that wasn't very nice. I said, well, it's just the fact of the matter. DeSantis, as great a governor as he has been in Florida, always looked a little disheveled. His suits weren't quite right. He was, like me, a little overweight. You got to take these things seriously. Some people are just big, bold personalities like Trump, but that really isn't DeSantis. So he had some work to do. And if you've noticed, if you look at before and after, if you go back and look at DeSantis a year ago to now, what's he lost? 20 pounds? 25 pounds? He has new suits that fit him a little bit better. He's taken this all very seriously. You can tell when somebody's taking something seriously and when they're not. Chris Christie is not taking this seriously. He's not. He's just in it for himself to get his name out there, to maybe get a raise with his media job or whatever, and he wants to go out and pound on Trump. And I think it's absolutely absurd. I think the media should come up with some sort of a coverage rule that if you don't have 5%, let's say, in some polling somewhere, 3%, whatever, if you don't have 3% support in your party, they should just never get mentioned. Never really even covered. Let the local media cover them. If it starts to gain traction in a state somewhere, great. If Asa Hutchinson goes to Iowa and starts winning over voters and all of a sudden has 5%, then you can go cover him. Nobody in America knows who this person is running for president. It's just, the whole thing is just, I don't know how running for president has become a thing where people look at as a career move. I'm just going to go lose, but this is going to help me. I'll make money off this. I'll do something afterwards that makes me more credible or viable just because I went and I ran and I lost. This is a 2-horse race, and everybody sees that. At this point, that's exactly what it is. It's Trump. It's DeSantis. And I was having a conversation with a buddy over the weekend who regularly listens to Chris DeGaulle on KCMO 710 in Kansas City. Chris is a good man. And I hadn't heard Chris say this. He said, I'm not picking between either one of them. Until I have to go in and vote, I'm out. He says, I was so bad. He said, I was so wrong about Trump in 2016, Stegall said, that he wasn't convinced that he was a conservative or whatever. He said, I was so wrong. I'm not doing this again. I'm not picking between these. I'll figure it out when it comes time to vote. But right now, and this is kind of chicken spit on my part too, right now, I'll just take either one of them. But it really has to be one of those two. Not really interested in the others. I think Vivek Ramaswamy has an incredible future if he wants to be in politics and run. I think he has an unbelievable future. But that obviously the future is not now. I've mentioned to you many times that guy would be my chief of staff. If I won and were president, Vivek Ramaswamy would be my chief of staff. And that just hands down, come in here and run this thing. Here we go. I need you in here. And there is some depth. There's some good candidates and some depth on the bench on the Republican side. Here's some good news. We had actual elections in Spain. They don't have Memorial Day in Spain as we do. And so they had elections on Monday. And in the 22 biggest cities in Spain, they all have socialist mayors. I mean, far left, a lot like America. The biggest cities have the most wacko leftist mayors. Spain just threw half of them out, and 11 cities have elected conservative mayors. They also got several seats in parliament across the country, and the general election is later this year. And it is a populist movement. The PP party is the populist party, and that's what we would call the Republican Party, I think. Then they have a new party called the Vox Party, which is just actually populists, not just conservatives, but that would be more like MAGA voters. And it is the fastest growing party. It's now the number 3 party. So nobody gets over 50% in this country. There's too many different parties. It's not like here where we just have 2 parties. So they have all these parties, and the conservatives basically just swept everything in Spain. And now they're looking at the general election later this year going, wow, this is going to completely and fundamentally change the country. If those elections come down that way, that would be a cool place to visit. Think about that. Think about that for a second. Spain, all these countries, the United Kingdom is more conservative than America now. It's just, some of this stuff is unbelievable how far left we've gone and the crazy things that have been happening. But good things are happening in Spain. We're seeing it happen in other countries. People are waking up, and I think this is probably a natural cause and effect from the pandemic. They saw leftists all over the world trying to control you and tell you, and now people are waking up going, you know what they told us was wrong. What they told us was, I thought at the time, I questioned it a little bit at the time, not meaning me, but like people around the world are saying, was questioning it, but they're in charge, so we went along with it. And now we're realizing those people that were saying they knew everything about everything are no smarter than the rest of us. They certainly are not, and Spain is seeing a backlash right now from their elections that they had on Monday. That's a pretty cool deal. That's really cool to go see something like that. Shout out to our friends at bstock.net. I was chatting with Chris over there last week, and he said, people don't know how many computers we have here, and it can be overwhelming to go on the website and see all the different laptops. And I don't talk about this enough. They have experts at bstock. If you're looking for something in particular, a certain kind of computer for something that you do, or a number of computers for your office, or a specific TV for a space or a room, feel free to call them. Just because it's 30% cheaper than everywhere else doesn't mean there is no customer service. They've got absolute experts at bstock.net. It's a simple number. It's 800-1419. That's a local number, 913-800-1419. That's 913-800-1419. Don't be afraid if you don't know and you're not an expert on electronics or know exactly what you need. Don't be afraid to call them at bstock and say, here's what I'm looking for. bstock.net. Same thing at Roberts Robinson. Do like I did. If you're going to get a new GM vehicle, just order it up, have the factory build it just like you like it. My Chevy Blazer is built out exactly to my specifications. It was delivered to Roberts Robinson. I went up to the dealership, had a beautiful experience with the delivery of the vehicle where they showed me everything that it did. And if you order the vehicle and you get there and you're like, oh, I don't like this color, you're not obligated to buy it. They'll be more than happy to keep it on their lot and sell it to someone else. So it's a wonderful way to get a new vehicle. You can find all the information you need online at robertsrobinson.com. Mostly all you got to know is it's home of the lifetime warranty included, which almost no one else does. And Dr. Jeremy and his team over at Furry Orthodontics would love to schedule you up this summer. to get that perfect smile, this is a great time of year for a teenager to go in and get Invisalign or braces over the summer months instead of during the school year. And I think you'll be surprised how quickly this process can go. For your young teenager, Furry Orthodontics has 13 locations. You get a smile for life with Invisalign or braces, and they're exceptionally famous, and Abby, my daughter, went through this, exceptionally famous for making the experience of the treatments not cringeworthy. They make it fun. They do. They keep it, the office becomes fun. It's just, you have to. Got to make it fun for the kids. Good stuff at Furry Orthodontics. Really appreciate the white glove treatment that they have. Everything they do is just gentle and professional and fun. We like that. Positive. It's positive. That's the best way to describe it. Well, here's a positive. Ron DeSantis in Florida passed his legislation where they're not going to allow little kids to be at drag shows and sex shows and things like that. Something that seemingly we could all agree on, but apparently we can't. They passed it in Orlando, or in Florida, and now in Orlando, they're having a furry convention. We've talked about the furries a little bit on the podcast. I have a friend who has a daughter in high school and says there's a couple of furries at their school and they have to allow them to dress like this. They have a tail and whiskers and will drink out of a dog bowl at a table. It's just the strangest thing ever. And because it's strange, there's always more to it than just dressing up in a costume. And that is, of course, the case. In Florida, the Furry Convention at Megaplex Orlando is an event. It's the largest one in Florida where people come, and a lot of them just look like mascots. They look like Casey Wolf or Slugger or whatever. They dress up as animals, and they're full-on costumes. But for some people, it is a lifestyle that they have a tail that they put on and wear other clothes and paint their face and just live as a furry. I'm not an expert in this field, but it seems to me like there might be a little mental disorder there, if that's indeed what you're doing. So the media come out, and they're, of course, blasting this in Florida, that this is heartbreaking that children cannot attend this event. It has been deemed 18 plus. You got to be 18 years or older to go to this furry convention at Megaplex Orlando. And people are, it's just an outrage that they can't take their kids. It's harmless. It's just people dressing up like Donald Duck or Mickey Mouse. And they quote a person in the story. I don't have the name in front of me. They quote this person who's in charge of this thing. And what do you figure this person's main business is that they're quoting? This person puts on conventions, shows like this. So they're in the marketing part. They're the people, the company that puts on the show. What else do they do that makes them the expert in the field that the media goes to and asks the questions? Oh, they make adult toys for furries. Really? And they sell them at the convention. Furry adult toys. I mean, what? What? And you're wanting to write a story that it's outrageous that kids can't go. I mean, what is wrong with these people? First of all, who invents this stuff? I mean, you got to be half sick and deranged to even come up with this stuff. Adult toys for furries. I don't want to know. I don't want to know. I'm not going to research it further. We're not going to talk about it on this. I don't want to know. I don't want to see them. I don't want to know. I don't want to know. I am glad Ron DeSantis and the legislature in Florida will flag events like this and say, sorry, if you want to have some sort of convention where people just dress up in costumes or a masquerade party or whatever, okay, but you can't sell adult toys for furries and expect the little tykes to go there. Lululemon hasn't learned anything from Target or Bud Light. Oh boy, Target's really getting clobbered. This one surprises me a little bit because Target's main customers are moms. They're women. And apparently the conservative moms have now taken a cue from the Bud Light drinkers and said, we're going to make a difference with Target. Target's just getting clobbered. Their sales are way down and their stock is way down. after the complete support, trying to not back down and say, no, we're going to move in some places, we'll move this stuff, your little tucking swimsuit for boys, so they can tuck their junk down under and look like girls when they're 7 instead of having their junk. But we're going to move that to the back of the store in some places, but we still fully support all this. They're not pulling products. They're not doing this and that. So Target's getting clobbered, and it's women that are doing it. And nobody seems to want to learn from any of this. It's a very expensive clothing line called Lululemon. It started out as like workout clothes, not spandex or whatever, like the women wear the jogger things, but it's really branched out from there. A lot of dudes wear their golf shorts or golf pants. They're very comfortable. They're almost like sweats. It's high end. It's expensive stuff, but they're exceedingly popular. Everybody loves Lululemon. If you got something from Lululemon, I've never heard anybody get something from Lululemon and they didn't love it. Lululemon in Chicago is sponsoring a drag dress-up show that features makeovers for children. Now, this would, again, be illegal in Florida. You wouldn't be able to do this. But these freaks are going to have a drag dress-up show where the point is, bring your little ones and let's do makeovers for the kiddies. If you've got a little girl, let's turn her into a boy. If you've got a little boy, let's turn him into a girl. At the show, that's the point of the thing. The point of the thing is makeovers for children at a drag dress-up show. And Lululemon is sponsoring it. Because, somebody's got to sponsor everything, right? Is this a giant category for Lululemon? Cross-dressers? Is this how they've become such a popular brand in America? Again, it's not. It can't be what's driven them to success. They may support it. They should just quietly support it. If the people in the corporate office like that, fine. What are you going to do to all these dudes that like to play golf in your golf pants? You don't market anything to golfers. But they know how many dudes are going out here to Leawood Town Center to the Lululemon paying $150 for a pair of these pants, and then they play golf in them, or shorts. They know how many they're selling. How do you think those guys are going to feel about Lululemon sponsoring a drag dress-up show that features makeovers for children? I'm just telling you, these people will not learn. They're not going to learn, and it may sound hypocritical coming from me because I make my living now doing politics and addressing these issues and having opinions that a lot of people would disagree with, obviously. But that's what this business is. I'm not selling pants and jogging shorts. If I were, I wouldn't be picking sides. Right? I did sports on radio for 23 years and rarely picked sides. I had a lot of sports opinions, and people could tell I was conservative just by the way I talked about things or addressed some issues related to sports, but I didn't turn it into a support drag queens or, do shows on that awesome law in Florida that keeps people from having furry sex toys at shows where kids are in attendance. Didn't do that. Know your audience. And I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen with these companies. I don't even know if enough people will know that Lululemon is doing this, but they might. The event's still a couple of weeks away. It's June 17th in Chicago. Drag, dress up, and makeovers for children. Sponsored by Lululemon. Might as well be sponsored by Target. What's Target waiting on? Triple down. Come on, triple down, Target. Jump in on the drag, dress up, and makeovers for children show coming soon in the formerly once great city known as Chicago. Maybe you'll be visiting Chicago sometime. I would like to go to a Cubs game or a concert in Chicago. I saw many years ago Tom Petty at United Center in Chicago. It was fantastic. Chicago can be a great place to visit in the summertime. The point is, if you're ever going anywhere and you want to go to an event when you're out of town, Tickets for Less can hook you up no matter where you're going or what you're seeing. It's not just Chiefs tickets and Royals tickets and KU tickets and things like that. Tickets for Less is all over the country. We were looking at the schedule this weekend for Eric Church. I've not seen Eric Church, and I want to go see Eric Church. And I think he's going to be in St. Louis in July, I think. I saw the date yesterday, but I don't remember what the date was. We're going to maybe go to St. Louis to see Eric Church. And so we'll use Tickets for Less. They'll hook us up with great tickets right there on your phone. You walk right in, you have a great, great night. Ticketsforless.com. It's oh so easy. And your promo code is KKHI, saves you 5 to 15% every single time at Tickets for Less. Maybe you'll want to buy some tickets to a K-State football game this fall and stay at the Bluemont Hotel in Manhattan. It is the only place to stay in Manhattan. Did you see the new NBAF facility is finally opened? It's created, 500 permanent jobs inside that thing? This is the bioscience lab where we're taking all the most deadly diseases for animals, our food supply, cows, pigs, things like that. And, it's described to me as a laboratory inside a tornado shelter inside a bomb shelter. It's so far down in the ground that this stuff can't get out. Anyway, a lot of folks will be doing work there, traveling to Manhattan. If you are, the Bluemont Hotel is the only place to stay. Truly. It's such a great spot, right on the corner of Campus and Aggieville. They have Goolsby's restaurant, bar, indoor entertainment center there as well. And, of course, the perfect location. They can fit your group if it's for a business and you need some conference space. They've got that. If it's personal and you're having like a get-together, your old frat buddies are getting together or something like that, you want to do that, they've got a room for that too. They're just a wonderful hotel. BluemontHotel.com. It's BluemontHotel.com in Manhattan. All right, on to sports. And we'll start with the Royals won 2 in a row, and they came close enough to a perfect game on Monday. The Royals came within 6 outs of pitching a perfect game against the St. Louis Cardinals. The Royals racked up 16 hits. They won 7-0. Pasquantino had a big day. Massey, Prado, Nicky Lopez, all of them just mashed the ball around the yard. They'll play the Cardinals again on Tuesday night at 6:45. But the Royals did something interesting in this game. They started Josh Staum out, the reliever, who pitched 1 inning, came out. Then Mike Myers came in, and Mike Myers pitched 6 perfect innings. The Royals went 7 innings of perfect baseball, 21 up, 21 down. 6 outs shy of a perfect game. I think Myers then stayed in. I didn't see the game. I've read the recap in the box score, and then he wound up giving up a couple of hits, and out he came. But, boy, that's a couple starts for Myers, who nobody planned on at any point this year, and he's been really good in his 2 starts. So that's nice. Lynch is back. The Royals pitching looks like it maybe is coming around a little bit. Brady Singer, I get frustrated with the manager because, you've got a struggling guy who you think someday could be your ace in Brady Singer. And on Saturday, he goes 5 scoreless, and that's enough for me. If Brady Singer gives me 5 scoreless, I'm taking him out. He brings him back in the 6th. Actually, I'll bring him back in the 6th, but if he allows a runner on, he's out of the game. That's it. I'm going to build his confidence. And that's not what they did. They let him stay in and give up 4 hits and 3 runs, I think. And in the 6th inning, trying to push him, hey, we got to get you to 100, 110 pitches. We need you to pitch 7 innings. No, not right now. He's having a bad year. You get this. I think it's the 3rd time this year he's pitched 5 scoreless innings and then basically out of gas falls apart. That's on the manager. Know your players. It's not the most important thing in the world right now for him to give you 7 innings. You get 5 scoreless, get him out. He lowered his ERA. He gets to feel good about himself for 4 days. Then he can go back out there and try again. So I get frustrated by some of these things the Royals do. This is why they're 27th in Major League Baseball out of 30 in team earned run average, 5.10. To be honest, I'm a little surprised by watching them all year that they're not 30th, that they're 27th. There's 3 teams that are worse. That's something, I guess. But it's still, I think, for me anyway, I still think it's fun to watch the Royals and the Cardinals play. All right, on to football. How about this? There's a odds-making site right now that lists starting quarterback for the Las Vegas Raiders, if not Jimmy Garoppolo, the starting quarterback. Garoppolo, this is crazy. They signed him to this big deal. He's got a bad foot injury. He had a surgery in March, 3 months after the season. He's failed his physical. There are questions now whether Jimmy Garoppolo will ever play for the Raiders or whether they'll just cut him and poison pill out of this contract. But Vegas is offering odds on who will start if not Jimmy Garoppolo. They're not in panic form yet in Vegas. They got a couple, 3 months here before they need official word whether Garoppolo can go. But right now, he still can't pass a physical. The odds-on favorite to be the replacement if Garoppolo can't go at 2-1, that's what the odds are, is Tom Brady. I have Brady fatigue. I'm just being honest with you. I'm exhausted with Tom Brady and retirement and taking a TV job, not taking a TV job. Now he wants to be an owner of the Raiders, and he's finalizing that. Brady can't start for the Raiders or play for the Raiders unless the other owners approve it, if Brady's part of an ownership group. The whole thing is, I just have complete and total Brady fatigue. I do. Not him personally, not even if he was going to be on Fox this year in the broadcaster. It's not that I can't listen to him or that he can't have the job or I won't watch that game. That's not it. It's is he still going to play fatigue that I can't stand? Because this was it. It was over. This is over this time. Oh, and now he just happens to be buying part of a team that has a quarterback with a foot injury and a surgery that has prevented that quarterback from doing anything and may just get released. And then the Raiders would turn to Tom Brady. Well, here's the other options. Matt Ryan is out there. Carson Wentz. Teddy Bridgewater. Ugh. Who was the old Bengals quarterback? Oh, Andy Dalton would probably be available. Vegas has instilled Tom Brady. They've installed him as the favorite to replace Garoppolo, if not Jimmy Garoppolo. In the Southeastern Conference, one more year, and then there will be 16 teams in the SEC. It's going to get wild in the SEC. It's already wild. SEC football is just great. It's just great. Greg Sankey in Destin, Florida this past week, he's the commissioner of the league, has said, yeah, we're going to 16 teams, but we still want to play 9 conference games. That can get a little tricky. I could see that, how that's a little tricky, a little dicey. His justification for this is, because I don't think the coaches like it. I think the coaches would like to play 8 conference games, 4 non-con. His justification is there's an expanded playoff, and we want to dominate the expansion of the playoff. He believes that the way you do that is you have to have tougher schedules. You play more good teams, and your resume is better than somebody else's. I mean, I guess he's probably right, but I just think if you're in the SEC and you've got a resume, it really doesn't matter who you play. You're getting in. You're getting in. The expanded playoff, it'd be pretty hard if you went 11-1 in the SEC to not be in the expanded playoff. So he's probably right that it's the right thing to do, but I also can totally see the coaches who say this is brutal. We already play somebody really good in the non-con because every SEC team seems to have somebody really good that they play, and that 8 would be enough. I could absolutely see that. I think the smartest thing the SEC does, most schools there, is schedule a non-conference game against a patsy later in the year. You know, traditionally your coaches wanted to ramp the season up against patsies because you're bringing your team along through summer camp and you're building and gaining. I think it's good to play somebody up front, and then later in the year when you're all beat up, maybe there's 3 games left in the season, you know, you get to play Appalachian State then and rest players who are hurt, give them a week off. Pretty good option. I think the SEC gets that one absolutely spot on correctly. KKHI is brought to you by Amazing Garage Floors, online at amazinggaragefloors.net. This is veteran-owned and operated. John Hutchins served us proudly in the United States Air Force, and he would love to provide you with a beautiful garage floor. Don't forget, he also seals concrete. If you want to get your concrete treated and make sure it's not going to chip, peel, do all that nasty stuff over time, call Amazing Garage Floors at 913-901-7139 and get sealed up today. Great Life Golf, online at greatlifekc.com. Golf and fitness memberships all over Kansas City, but there's also a handful of golf courses in their chain that are just daily fee courses. So if you'd like to just play once, mention the podcast. They're offering 20% off at many of these courses just by mentioning it when you make a tee time. Log on to see where a course near you is. They have over 50 courses total now at greatlifekc.com. Not all in Kansas City. Some of them are out of town. Destination courses like the Lake of the Ozarks, Osage National, or in Wichita, in Georgia, Alabama. There's all kinds of courses from Great Life Golf. greatlifegolf.com. All right, on to golf. And Michael Block, who became everybody's hero at the PGA Championship a couple weeks ago, he's the club pro that hit the hole-in-one on Sunday playing with Rory McIlroy and finished tied for 14th or whatever and is qualified for the PGA next year. Immediately at the Colonial, which was the tournament the week after in Fort Worth, they called him up and said, we have an exemption. We want you to come play here because it'll sell tickets. You'll get on TV, the whole deal. Well, it was a disaster for Michael Block. He shot 81 the first day. He finished dead last and missed the cut. The real headline and attention was him hitting a squirrely shot off of a bridge because he hit it so far out of play and doing a podcast interview where he basically said, I'm a world-class player. If I could hit it as far as Rory McIlroy, I'd be better than any of these guys. And if you play golf, you know how dumb that sounds. Yes, Rory McIlroy and some of the other golfers are really long, and Michael Block does not hit it as far as they do. But he was talking about his own game. He's like, my short game around the greens and chipping, I'm world-class. Yeah. Like, I'm every bit as good as Rory and all these other guys. You're not. You're not. If you were, you'd be out there. There's a simple truth in golf. The best golfers make it as touring pros. The best golfers on the planet make it. And no club pro that was ever good enough to go be a touring pro and win majors, zero of them ever just stayed a club pro and didn't try. They're always in either the Watson Challenge, which is up this week, or they play regional events, or they go out and try to qualify for the U.S. Open. All these club pros have tried to be touring pros and not made it. And I think he was making it sound like, well, yeah, if I could hit it as far as Rory, yeah, I'd be. Not a good week for Michael Block. Oh, and he's been invited to the Canadian Open now. So he's going to get invited a lot of places to finish last, which will probably happen. Unfortunately, this happens in sports. He had one great week. Phenomenal. He was fired on adrenaline, all kinds of stuff. And unfortunately, I think for him, that was his 15 minutes of fame. And sometimes 15 minutes is all. You don't want that 16th minute because you might say something dumb and make it sound like you think you're better than Rory McIlroy, which is not the case. At the college championships in Scottsdale at Greyhawk Golf Club, a young player for the Oregon Ducks had to withdraw from the tournament. His name is Gregory Solhag, and he withdrew from the tournament due to injury. Well, that's not unheard of. We hear of even golfers that get injured and have to withdraw. He had to withdraw because he impaled his foot on a golf tee. I've never heard of this. I don't know what kind of golf tee or what kind of golf shoe you could be wearing that the tee would go through it. It was pretty funny. The other day I saw a tee in the parking lot at Canyon Farms after playing, and I picked it up. And I thought, boy, that could puncture a tire. If you rolled over it the right way or wrong way, I could see it popping a hole in your tire. I guess the same thing is true with a foot. And it happened to this young guy, and he had to pull out, and his team was down a player, and they missed the cut to make it to the finals, which really stinks, but this is legit now. Listen to this. Think about the arch of your foot. I'm guessing that's where this was the arch, of how painful that would be, first of all. This young man is on crutches and will be for 2 weeks. They told him he cannot walk on this thing for 2 weeks. He went to the hospital. They did something to make it somewhat better, I guess, but he basically impaled his foot with a golf tee. I've never, ever, ever in my life heard of that. I have heard of Jocelyn's Jewelry at 95th and Antioch, online at jocelynsjewelry.com, the jewelry you'll recommend to your friends and family, and North Kansas City Dental at nkcdental.com, proud sponsors of KKHI. Thanks to Gary Joslin and Bill Bush at Joslyn's and North Kansas City Dental for sponsoring the podcast. Appreciate them. They are good folks, and they are presenting today's final. The final today is don't pet the bison at Yellowstone Park. Bad idea. So they have this little wooden walkway. It's elevated up off the ground. There's some grass there. It's grazing ground for the buffalo. And this wooden walkway, think of like a boardwalk by the ocean or something, but it's only like a foot off the ground. So these ladies are walking along, and there's a buffalo or a bison, very, very close. I think the story said this is a bison. And it's very close to the walkway, which was not a problem. The bison's just sitting there grazing, eating the grass, and it sees people walk by all the time. And I'm sure they're somewhat accustomed to this. I don't think there's a lot. The walkway and the bison wouldn't be there together if there was some threat of the bison just crashing the walkway and coming after people. They're not predators. Dude just wants his grass, but he wants to be left alone while he's eating his grass. And this dumb lady who was the fourth, it was a group of 4 women, it looked like, and she lagged behind a couple feet to take a look at the bison, and the bison was getting a little bit closer as it was grazing, and she reaches out like 3 feet to try to pet the bison. Well, what does that big animal do then? Oh, yeah. He hit her, and he hit her hard and cut her up. The horn, she was impaled. This is not a tragic story. She was okay. She ran off. Got a little treatment, is going to be just fine. So the bison didn't continue. It was like a one-shot deal. Like, don't pet me while I'm eating. Every time you've ever been to a national park or anything like this, there are signs and people and warnings everywhere. Don't touch. Don't reach. These people who feed, you see them feeding fish or something off of a pier at these places, or trying to pet manta ray or one of those things, a stingray. They're trying to pet that, and a shark comes up and bites you in the arm. Yeah, you're holding fish in your hands. Don't do it. I'm the most cautious person ever. If I was, I'd be like, I would walk through there and think, I really shouldn't be walking this close to a bison. I just shouldn't, because I don't know him, and I really don't want to mess with him. That's a beautiful animal. I'd be the last guy on earth that would ever try to pet a bison in Yellowstone Park. That would not be me. That would not be me. Yellowstone is beautiful. The Grand Tetons are beautiful. If you've never been, mark it on your calendar and get there. It is a beautiful, beautiful part of a just beautiful country that we have, and very conservative places. Montana and Wyoming, there's MAGA everywhere. You will love visiting the national parks. Very cool stuff. Okay, we're back. We're up and running. Hope you had a great holiday weekend for Memorial Day, and we'll look forward to see what happens this summer as the full amount of candidates get in the race. And, I'm on the edge of my seat. I can't wait to find out what Chris Christie is going to do for America. Oh, he's going to bash Trump? There's a new one. Good. Welcome to the race, Chris. We're going to have some fun with it, and we'll keep you up to date on everything. And I thank you very much for listening to the podcast and telling your friends about it. And feel free anytime, anywhere you go, to tell anybody you like if you think Kevin Keatsman has issues.
Thanks for listening to Kevin Keatsman Has Issues, presented by Roberts Robinson Chevrolet Buick GMC. To get exclusive patrons-only podcasts, receive a weekly newsletter, and attend in-person patrons-only parties, visit kkhasissues.com and become a patron today. This has been a production of Crooked Tail Media Incorporated.